is Josh Jacobs, and you're listening to Fantasy Football Counselor.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the Fantasy Football Counselor. Massive episode. We're talking about the top fantasy football running backs for 2020. The truth. What does that mean to you? The truth. It means that I will not give you a consensus ranking list here. I'm going to give you practical fantasy football advice on which running backs to draft for your 2020 fantasy football draft. So we're going to get a fantasy football running back draft strategy. We're going to be talking about the truth, what goes up must come down, everything you need to know so you guys roster the proper fantasy football running back, because nobody else is doing this. What they're going to give you is they're going to say, hey, here's our top 10 running backs. Guess who the top 10 running backs are, everybody? Well, what a coincidence. It's last year's top 10 finishers. And I don't like that. I don't like the way that the system is run, so I'm changing it. I'm going to give you guys practical truth on which guys are going to be the top running backs by the end of the season. We're going to talk about it right here, right now. So grab a coffee if you're commuting. There's a lot of practical advice here. Get a pen and paper out. Going to be super practical with you guys when we talk about these running back rankings, everything you need to know. And what bothered me, and the reason I'm doing this is, again, I'm sick and tired of the mainstream sheep. I'm sick and tired of the consensus copy and paste rankings. Because if I go right now and list you guys the top 10 running backs, and I say Dalvin Cook top 5, and I tell you Kenyan Drake top 5 or top 10 or whatever, it's going to be last year's repeat numbers. There's no accommodation. It's literally copy and paste from last year. That's not how I roll here, guys. You got to think outside the box because they change. Things change. Last year, guys, the guys that everybody said were on top didn't finish on top, okay? Le'Veon Bell was drafted in the top 10, right? Didn't finish there, right? It just happens like that, okay? So you got to accommodate and find things that change and shift. James Conner last year, also another guy that was in the top 10, didn't finish there. Melvin Gordon, things change. You have to accommodate and look at everything. We're going to talk about that here, right now. Before I get into that, a couple big announcements here I want to announce, make you guys fully aware, Council Nation. First and foremost, guys, we are launching a network with all of the top influencers for NFL teams. So what I mean by guys that put out content like myself that look after a specific team, right? So I've got the Cowboys guy on YouTube. I've got the Bengals guy on YouTube. I've got the 49ers guys on YouTube, right? All of us are coming together for Fan to Fan Network, guys. Let me show you guys a sneak peek to this video. Take a look at it, and we're going to go from there. I'm going to show you guys a sneak peek. I'm going to tell you guys what it's all about. Check this out. So there you have it, guys. A quick sneak peek to Fan Network. How to get involved, guys, here on YouTube. All you got to do is follow our Twitch channel. It's going to be streaming on Twitch coming this season, guys. It's going to be super exciting. We're going to be launching with the preseason, and the site's going to go live in July. I'm beyond excited. You're going to have all the analysts all in one spot. Real people like you and I putting out content. I'm beyond excited about Fan Network. Super, super excited. So you guys make sure you're following also on Insta at Fan to Fan Network, on Twitter at Fan to Fan Network. Follow on social. Get, be part of the movement here, guys. We are taking over. No more white collar BS. This is the real deal. Real people like you and I interacting with you guys. You guys are real people, so we're going to be interacting with you guys. This is a game changer, guys. We're going to Netflix the heck out of the industry. Same way Netflix did to Blockbuster. We're going to do it with sports analysis, guys. This is huge. Make sure you guys follow on Twitch, FTFN on Twitch. If you're listening in the car, head on over there, follow the channel. I'm telling you, it's going to be massive. Also, guys, get the 16-round draft solution. There is a link here below. Or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. This is the absolute game changer. First ever and only video training. And I'm telling you, this is like handing you on a silver platter the hack for fantasy football 2020. I talk about sleepers, breakouts, robust RB strategy. Everything you need to know is in 16 rounds. I mean, again, if you get a draft kit, you're literally getting copy and paste ADP rankings. And what I don't get about draft kits, this is what really kills me, is that they're really literally giving you last year's top finishers. So all you got to do literally is go and look at who finished on top and just draft them in that order. That's what they're telling you. Or if you're on NFL or whatever site you're doing your draft on, when you come up in your draft, the rankings are there for you. So there's nothing in a draft kit that you can't get on a site. Does that make sense? There's nothing practical about it. So that's why I dove in. I created 16 rounds. I give you all the optimal players and omit the bad ones. For example, last year, Everybody had Le'Veon Bell round 1. I said, stay away. Everyone had Antonio Brown round 2. Said, stay away. Everyone had Damian Williams round 2. Said, stay away. Everyone said Odell Beckham round 1. Said, stay away. All the guys that I feel and research, got everything I've done, all that homework I've done on those players, and I feel they're not going to succeed, I omit them. So get the 16-round draft so you guys, it is the game changer at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. All right, let's talk about running backs of truth here. Let's get honed in and focused here. Now, if you're looking at ADP, who's the first overall running back to draft? Who is it? Everyone's going to say Christian McCaffrey. Understandably so. Now, if I'm going first overall, I'm taking Saquon Barkley. I'll tell you why. So let's talk about it. Let's dive in the facts. The last time any running back finished 2 years in a row on top in fantasy points was a guy named Priest Holmes. I believe it was 2002, 2003. It's very hard to come off such a pinnacle year, a record-breaking year, 471 fantasy points, 1,387 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, 15 touchdowns on the ground, 4 touchdowns receiving, 116 receptions for Christian McCaffrey last year. I'm going to put that in perspective for you when you look at receptions, okay? He had more, listen to this carefully, Christian McCaffrey, a running back on the Panthers, had more receptions than every wide receiver in the NFL except Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas had 149 receptions, also a pinnacle year last year. Hopkins had 104, Keenan Allen had 104, Edelman had 100, Julio Jones 99. To put that in perspective, guys, I'm telling you, this is a record year. 141 targets, 116 receptions for a running back. Not going to happen. They've got a new coach now. They've got a new quarterback now. They've added Robbie Anderson. They're going to throw the ball more. Different offense. I'm telling you guys, different offense. Christian McCaffrey will decline. Now, you said, Joe, 471 PPR fantasy points last season. How much is he going to decline? It's a good question. I think significantly enough to take him out of the RB1 contention. Now, don't get me wrong here. This guy is still in my top 3 running backs, top 3, top 4, okay? But the problem is I don't want to invest a first overall pick on a guy that I know is going to decline and I know another guy is going to probably emerge. The guy that I got coming first overall is Saquon Barkley. Now, if I said, consensus rankings, here they are, here's Christian McCaffrey, here's Saquon, nobody's talking about that. Everyone's just automatically by default putting Christian McCaffrey first overall. Can Christian McCaffrey finish first overall amongst running backs again? Yes, he can. But again, I accommodate for that and I go for the higher ceiling. So I think Saquon Barkley is the higher ceiling. Why, Joe? Why? A lot of people ask for stats. Well, finished 10th amongst running backs last season, Saquon did. Only playing 13 games. Terrible O-line and a rookie quarterback getting into the groove with Daniel Jones. Now they've significantly increased, they beefed up that O-line, right? They've got 3 new O-linemen in the draft. They've addressed the concern. And Saquon Barkley still finished with over 1,000 yards, 1,003 yards, right? 4.6 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns on the ground on 217 attempts in 13 games. Again, finishing in the top 10 amongst running backs in PPR. That is with again, terrible O-line. So the ceiling is high. The talent is there. We know Saquon clearly hungry and clearly wants to have a good season. And I think this is the season for him. So I would take Saquon first overall. Now, who would you go second? Even in PPR, I'd probably go Derrick Henry. Because again, I still see a decline for Christian McCaffrey, but I still see a ceiling for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry finishing 5th in PPR. Now, this guy had 16 touchdowns on the ground. I still think there's a ceiling there. 1,540 rushing yards. This is a guy that I was the only guy who had him top 6 in my rankings. Everybody and their mother in the mainstream had him out of the top 10. But I look at the trend, okay? You got to look at trends, okay? When you are drafting any running back, especially early, you got to look at trends. What has he done last year? What's he going to do this year? What's the opportunity? Is there a running back committee? You got to look at trends. You got to look at opportunity. You got to look at ceiling. Now, Derrick Henry has not been incentivized. That's another thing about Christian McCaffrey. He's been paid. He's been paid a lot of money. So, he's going to have that draft, that contract hangover, right? Whereas Derrick Henry, he's still hungry. Now, I heard there's negotiations. They're trying to talk to Henry about possibly getting him a contract. That's good. I understand that they signed him for the $10.2 million 1-year deal. Pretty good. But the thing is, he's a workhorse. He's got to be treated like a workhorse. He's got to be drafted like a workhorse. 303 attempts, number 1 in attempts. So I think he's still hungry. I think he's still people are still doubting me. I'm still one of the best running backs. People doubt me. And now I understand his receptions weren't that great. 18 receptions, 24 targets, 206 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns receiving. I mean, he's not really a pass catching back. I understand that. But where he makes up in that is all the goal line work. No one's going to come in there and steal any goal line work from him. Not Darrington Evans. Now I understand the Titans said that they're bringing Darrington Evans in. They're going to work him in, this and that. It doesn't matter. Derrick Henry's still the guy. So even if he has 303 attempts, let's say it drops to 280, I'm still okay with that. He's going to get a ton of volume and a ton of work. And I like that workhorse running back. Now, if we're talking about the truth of running backs, the truth is you have to go robust RB strategy. And I talk about that in the 60-round draft session, and I give you exactly which running backs to draft and when to draft them. But when you are drafting running backs, you got to make sure it's the right running back early on. You cannot invest in a running back early on if you know that a decline is imminent. Perfect example. Nick Chubb here, for example. Everyone's drafting him at the end of the first round, early second. He's a top 10 running back according to the consensus. I'm not drafting him. So that's why I would never do a list. I would never do a list because everyone's expecting me to put Nick Chubb in there. I'm not going to put Nick Chubb in my top 10 list. I'm not going to draft him. I'll tell you why. Now, I may sound like a broken record. You may have heard me say this. You may have not. But Kareem Hunt outscored Nick Chubb 6 out of the 8 games they played together in PPR last season. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, the first half of the season, Kareem Hunt wasn't there. Now everyone's telling everybody you got to draft Nick Chubb in the first round, end of first round. And Kareem Hunt's going to be there, for the entire season this year. And I looked at the trend of them playing together. Out of those 8 games, Chubb had 2 good games. And you could say he still did pretty good. He had a ton of rushing yards, this and that. I understand that. But if you look at the numbers, like there's certain games where I don't have it up exact. I could pull it up here for you guys. But the point I'm trying to make here, there's certain games where, let's say Kareem Hunt had like 15 points and Chubb had like 14 points. That's half the points. So Kareem Hunt's going to come in there and take half of the volume away from Nick Chubb, whether you like it or not. Well, you can say, well, Joe, Nick Chubb still scored me 14 points that game. Doesn't matter. Kareem Hunt took away half of that volume. So why would I invest in a running back in the first round? Okay, a guy that is supposed to be my RB1. Why would I invest in a guy that I know Kareem Hunt is there? It doesn't make practical sense. Yet the mainstream analyst, the consensus will still tell you, Joe, average casual gamer, Billy, Bob, John, Donald, Megan, Amanda, whoever is listening, you guys have to draft Nick Chubb in the first round. They'll tell you he's a top 10 guy. Why? Because he finished in the top 10 last season. So they feel obligated and they want to save face and they want to look good and they're fearful and they're going to just tell you what you want to hear. And that's the same thing they told you last year with Odell. He's a big name. He's a popular guy. We can't leave him out of our top 10. Same thing with Le'Veon Bell. Had a great time in Steel Town, performed really well. So people said he had to be a top 10, which is wrong, guys. You have to look at the situation. You got to look at the variables. So again, nobody's telling you this stuff. I haven't seen anybody put Nick Chubb out of their top 10. If there is somebody, tell me. I want to know a mainstream top pocket. Don't give me a guy that created an Instagram with 5 followers, okay? No offense to them. I understand they're grinding, but there's a lot of people coming out mimicking what I'm doing. Find me a person that's in the industry 3 to 5 years minimum, who's got a top podcast ranked in the top 10. When you go to iTunes, you look Fantasy Football up. I want to see that podcast in the top 10. I want to see one of those guys put Nick Chubb out of their top 10. Also, Dalvin Cook, another guy. Let's talk about the truth. Dalvin Cook. I was talking back in February he was threatening holdout. Now he's threatening it again. Looks like it's going to happen. He's threatening holdout. To my understanding, he wants $13 million a season. He's not worth $5 million a season. He's not worth anything. I would cut him. I would straight out cut Dalvin Cook. You don't need him. You've got Madison. If you look at the production of both Dalvin Cook and Madison, Dalvin Cook had 250 attempts, 1,135 yards, okay? 4.5 yards per carry and 13 touchdowns. 250 attempts and got all the goal line work. When you look at a guy like Alexander Madison, he had 100 attempts, so less than half, had 462 yards rushing, 4.6 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. So he had 0.1 yard per carry more than Dalvin Cook, and on 100 attempts, 462 yards. So he was performing on pace to finish where Dalvin Cook finished, right? Give Alexander Madison 250 attempts, he would perform just as good, if not better, than Dalvin Cook. Look at the projections, 100 attempts, 462 yards. Dalvin Cook, 250 attempts, 1,135 yards. So Madison was on pace. So what I'm trying to say is Dalvin Cook has not finished a season in 3 years. He cannot be trusted. And a lot of people, when I bring this up, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. His rookie year, he played 4 games. He was injured. He was banged up. The second year, he played 11 games. He played 15 games in 2 seasons. 15 games in 2 seasons. 14 games in the season that everybody thought he went off. He only played 14 games that year. And he missed 2 of those games. Half of 2 of those games he was in, right? The games he started. So he literally missed like 3 games that season again. So he has not finished a season. He blew his load. Dalvin Cook knows Dalvin Cook sucks. Dalvin Cook knows Dalvin Cook's a product of the offense, and Dalvin Cook knows that he will not finish the season, so Dalvin Cook wants to get paid. Very smart of Dalvin Cook, but not smart if you're a team and you want to pay that money to keep him. So everybody and their mother has Dalvin Cook in the top 5. His ADP is slowly starting to fall. People are starting to look at Alexander Mattison, a guy that I'm telling you to draft late. Stash him on your bench because he's going to get the start at some point, if not at the beginning of the season. And if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, what I would do is I would stand my ground. I would not pay Dalvin Cook. I'd offer him the $7 or $8 million or whatever they're offering because I know it was under around under 10 million at least. I would offer him that if you really want him, which I don't. And then if he doesn't take it, let him hold out. You start Madison for 3 to 5 weeks. You let him run wild, and then you tell Dalvin Cook to take a hike because Alexander Mattison will perform on the same level. Yet the mainstream consensus and consensus will still tell you, hey guys, you got to draft Dalvin Cook in the first round, top 5 overall. Not looking at the situation, not looking at the possible holdout, and not looking at the facts that Alexander Mattison equals Dalvin Cook, but even better if given that opportunity, right? There's a reason Alexander Madison is on that team. There's a reason Dalvin Cook's not getting paid the big bucks. It's because he's really not that good. The same type of thing. He is Le'Veon Bell on the Steelers, but not as good. He is Le'Veon Bell on the Steelers, but not as good, a product of the offense, where you saw D'Angelo Williams come in back a couple years ago, go look it up, and James Conner come in on the Steelers and perform just as good, if not better, a healthy Cook, that is, a couple years ago, just as good, if not better, than Le'Veon Bell. And Le'Veon Bell goes on the Jets and sucks. Same type of thing, guys. You got to look at the situation. You got to look at the opportunity. So again, let's take a look at the top 10 consensus running backs. Let's talk about them. Guys like Christian McCaffrey, Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott, I could see. I think there's a Pollard effect there. I think Pollard gets a little more work in there, but still solid. I mean, Zeke Elliott was number 2 in attempts, 301, right? Again, I'm not ranking these in order. We're just having the truth discussion here. This is what it's all about, okay? Leonard Fournette, hungry. Got to perform. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't want him. They wanted to get rid of him, decided to keep him. He's got to perform. If he wants that big mega contract with another team, he's got to put out. He's got to do it well this year, okay? Chris Carson, I mean, I don't trust him. I really don't trust Chris Carson. And the thing about Chris Carson, I'm going to go ahead and stay away from him. I'll tell you why. I'm going to stay away from him. Just pulling up some stats here, by the way. The reason I'm going to stay away from Chris Carson is that they drafted Carlos Hyde or acquired Carlos Hyde. Why would you want Carlos Hyde if you believe in Chris Carson? I know it's about depth. I know Rashad Penny's healthy and he's had years to wow, so we're not out. Why would you put Chris Carson there? Why would you not trust him? Why would you not start him? Why would you need Carlos Hyde? A guy that sucks. Carlos Hyde sucks. Don't get me wrong, but he's good enough to be a pest to Chris Carson. Now, Chris Carson sitting 16th on the consensus. People understand that. Not as high, but let's take a look at those top 10 guys. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Zeke Elliott, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, another guy that's going to decline. Who could emerge above Aaron Jones? Easily, if he's not in a committee, Miles Sanders could pop in there. Todd Gurley could pop in there. Let me just see here. I'm going to pull it up on PPR, actually. I apologize here. Austin Eckler's in the top 10. Let's go to the top 10 in PPR. McCaffrey, Barkley, Zeke, Kamara, Cook, Henry, Mixon, Kenyan Drake, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones. Why would you put Kenyan Drake in there? Why? Because he had a couple good pinnacle games, because he looks good, because that's what the popular opinion is? No, Kenyan Drake could finish in the top 10. Let me get this straight. But the risk isn't worth it. I'll tell you guys, the reward is not worth that risk, because I'll tell you why. They drafted Eno Benjamin, guy. They got him in the 7th round. Eno Benjamin's a guy out of Arizona State that looks good. He's got the spin move, nose for the end zone, and people in Arizona like him. And there's zero integrity with the Arizona Cardinals coaching staff in Kingsbury. Years to wow me, and I'm not wow with Kenny Drake. He's never really been a starter. He actually finished all 16 games with the 3 years with Miami, 14 games with Arizona, or whatever he played, 14 games he played when he started. Listen, I don't trust Kenyan Drake, period. That's the bottom line. The point I'm trying to make is just stay away from him. I understand the ceiling's there, but he's never been that full workhorse running back. I am not drafting Kenyan Drake. Again, 3 years with Miami. Man, he just sucked with Miami. That's all I got to tell you. A combined 9 touchdowns in 3 seasons with Miami. And you can say, well, no, Joe, now he's with the Cardinals. He's going to do really good. He could, but I don't trust him. They've also got Chase Edmonds there. I'm going to stay away from everything Kenyan Drake this season. Austin Eckler, another guy who's never been a full workhorse running back. Last year, Eckler only had, 132 rushing attempts? And I know, Joe, well, he could make it up in PPR. I get it, but I want a full workhorse running back. I want 250 attempts plus. Eckler had 132 attempts, and they drafted Joshua Kelly. Why would they draft Joshua Kelly if Eckler is your workhorse? They don't believe in him, right? You got to go for, and you could say, well, Joe, they drafted Darrington Evans. They don't believe in Henry. They needed a backup for him. Listen, they got rid of Diallo. They need some sort of backup if Henry goes down, right? So I get that. But with Eckler, there was backups there anyway. With Arizona, they had Chase Edmonds. They had backups. Listen, I'm not sold on these guys being workhorses, guys. Truth talk right here, okay? Dalvin Cook staying away first round. Let's talk about Kamara a little bit here. Kamara's a workhorse running back, but he's always part of a committee, right? He's a PPR machine. When I say workhorse, he always finishes in the top 10. He's still going to be like Eckler. He's going to be like a pass-catching guy with minimal attempts, 171 attempts, but he's getting more attempts than Eckler. But he's always going to get the 81 receptions. He's always going to have over 500-600 receiving yards. He's going to get some receiving touchdowns. Last year was a bit of a down year, and he still finished top 10 in PPR, finishing 9th amongst running backs. But the point of this video is I'm trying to make here for you guys, I'm trying to get this out for you guys, having a discussion with you, is that it's a volatile position, the running back position. That's the whole point of this. It's very volatile. What goes up must come down. There's copy and paste rankings being out there. You got to accommodate. So who do you draft and when do you draft them? I talk about all of this in 16 rounds, so make sure you guys get it. But if you are going early, in the first round, you want to try to secure, Saquon Barkley, Zeke, Christian McCaffrey, or Henry. That's pretty obvious. I like Henry second. You could go Kamara. If you go late first round, I like your Josh Jacobs. I like maybe even a Todd Gurley. Now, understand ADPs are rising for certain players, including Todd Gurley. Cotter, the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, came out and said, hey, you know what? Todd Gurley is going to be a beast when healthy, one of the best running backs in the league. So his ADP is rising based on what we're hearing. And as soon as training camp happens, David Johnson's value is going to go up. He's already coming off late second round. David Johnson, a month ago, even a couple weeks ago, was coming off in the fourth round. His ADP is rising significantly. But what blows my mind is the consensus and the consensus are still low on David Johnson. He is sitting 21st amongst running backs. This is comical. I'm going to laugh when David Johnson finishes top 5 or top 10 and the consensus have him 21st. This is comical. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to remember this, and I will not forget this. David Johnson is set for a prime year. He is a workhorse running back, and he will eat. And again, the truth talk, right? Also, truth talk. I'm telling you, there's going to be a couple running backs that could potentially crack the top 10. Let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. A lot of people in the consensus high on him. He is 16th amongst running backs coming off in the second round, typically, give or take. Now, here's the deal, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. My concern is that the volume might not be there. That's my only concern. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs running backs, I mean, Damian Williams had 111 attempts. Mind you, he played 11 games, but LaShawn McCoy had 101 attempts. Combined between those guys, 215 attempts max? That's a ceiling. Darrell Williams came in for 41. Darwin Thompson came for 37 attempts. Again, I don't know if they're going to make him a workhorse running back. Now, he could make up for that in receptions and targets. But again, Damian Williams maxed out at 37 targets last year. So are they throwing the ball enough to running backs? Probably not enough, and I'm probably off the Clyde Edwards-Helaire train this season. I really am. I understand the ceiling's high, but he literally has to be the workhorse. He has to be out on every down. There cannot be Damian Williams. And Damian Williams, I hate him. He's annoying for fantasy, but he's going to be a bit of a thorn in the side of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm going to stay away from the situation. And I understand, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was drafted in the first round. The ceiling is high. But again, based on the numbers that I'm seeing, I don't know. Again, maxing out at 37 targets for running backs versus Damian Williams. Is he going to get a lot of pass catches, right? I don't know, because there's a ton of targets. There's McCole Hardman. There's Tyreek Hill. There's Kelsey. There's so many guys to throw the ball to. And Sammy Watkins saying he wants to have this pinnacle year with a minimum 1,000 rushing yards, 100 receptions. I don't see that happening either, right? Too many targets to go around. I'm concerned about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We're talking truth here, right? Dalvin Cook, again, stay away. Nick Chubb, again, stay away. Joe Mixon, suspect offense, guys. I mean, I understand the ceiling is there. I understand this, but the guy has never had a pinnacle year. Be cautious with him. He's currently sitting 7th amongst running backs. I'm going to stay away from him too. Suspect offense, new quarterback. Is AJ Green going to be healthy? Is Mixon going to stay healthy? He's had his share of injuries as well. I'm going to stay away. So I love Josh Jacobs. He's currently sitting at, where's Jacobs sitting here? Sitting 13th amongst running backs. I think he could easily be a top 10. He's in my top 10. Aaron Jones is going to decline as well. Aaron Jones, had a pinnacle year. They're going to throw more this year. He had 16 touchdowns. They brought in A.J. Dillon. Be cautious there. Guys that could crack the top 10. Jonathan Taylor, love the upside. Marlon Mack's got to go away. But bottom line is this. You got to get those guys that are in minimal committees. David Johnson, minimal committee, right? Nobody going to take the volume away. That's why I see him finishing top 10. Talent is there. He's hungry, chip on his shoulder. Derrick Henry, no committee. Alvin Kamara's safe top 10 because he always finishes there. There's a good trend of consistency, right? Derrick Henry, solid, right? Saquon Barkley, solid. Christian McCaffrey, solid. Ezekiel Elliott, solid. But where you start getting nitty-gritty is the Austin Ecklers, the Kenyan Drakes, right? What business does Joe Mixon, Kenyan Drake, Austin Eckler, and Aaron Jones being in the top 10? I don't see it. I really don't. Even Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb, right? Nick Chubb's actually 12th, okay? He's actually 12th amongst running back rankings right now. He's fallen because, again, Kareem Hunt is there. But what I'm telling you guys is you got to look for those ones with the question marks and really omit them, okay? Because if there's a lot of red flags, there's a reason those red flags are there. You got to ask yourself, is there going to be someone that's going to hoard that goal line volume? Again, everyone's asking me about Sony Michel. Last year, Devlin James or James Devlin, that fullback guy, kept coming in and getting rushing touchdowns. I think that guy retired now. But the point I'm trying to make is that people ask me Sony Michel. I'm like, hell no. No Sony Michel for me. I don't trust that offense, right? Mark Ingram. I don't trust Mark Ingram. I can't believe Mark Ingram right now is sitting ahead of David Montgomery. David Montgomery had 242 attempts. Ingram had just over 200. He had like 202 attempts, I believe. Why would you draft Ingram when you know Lamar runs the ball and they brought in Dobbins? David Montgomery is clearly going to finish ahead of Mark Ingram. There's no question about it. Like, it's not even a question. And that's the thing that bothers me, right? When you got to look at those guys with the opportunity. I love David Montgomery in the 4th round. One of the biggest steals in fantasy football. And I've been talking to one of his coaches, a guy that works with him. He's a physical therapist, I believe. He's saying that Montgomery looks a lot more explosive. He's ready to work his game. He was a little bit down on last year, averaging, 3.7 yards per carry. That's definitely going to come up. So I love David Montgomery. So again, I'm just trying to keep it real with you guys. And again, in 16 rounds, I talk about all this. Jonathan Taylor, I love. But again, Marlon Mack is bothering me a little bit. But look for him to emerge. Other guys that I love. Cam Akers, he's a guy that could really emerge this season, finish top 12 if given the opportunity with the Rams. I'm not sold on Darrell Henderson. They're going to be looking, I talked to a Rams guy. The secret with the Akers and the whole Henderson thing is it comes down to pass protection. The best runner on the team, without a doubt, is Cam Akers. He's going to be on the field more as long as his pass protection is up to par and above. He's going to see a lot of field time, okay? So I love him. I love Cam Akers. Ton of upside. Swift, again, another guy that could be a full workhorse running back. But again, Kerryon's going to be a pest there. Kareem Hunt, I'm going to stay away because it's going to be like a 50-50 split. But I see the upside, right? We don't know with Rojo, Keyshawn Vaughn. We don't know what's going to happen there. It's going to be split there. Who knows, right? They were flirting with Devontae Freeman, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They want him. That shows me they don't really believe in Rojo and Vaughn, right? That scares me. I'm going to stay away. Raheem Mostert. Tons of upside. I like him, but he's on the 49ers. They spread the ball around a lot. Will he get full workhorse running back volume? We don't know. And this is why, the conclusion to this, let's wrap this up. You got to go workhorse running back. So I'll give you a combination of 4 running backs you can get in the first 4 round. If you're drafting early, you go Saquon. Come back around. Hopefully Gurley falls. If he doesn't, you get Leonard Fournette. Come back around, you get David Johnson in the 3rd round if he falls. Now, here's a secret here. If you go at the end of the 1st round, pay attention, guys. Very big fantasy football running back draft strategy right here when you talk a robust RB strategy. If you go Josh Jacobs at the end of the 1st round, if you don't get David Johnson here, this is the trick here, and that's how much do you like David Johnson? If you don't go David Johnson, you're drafting 11th. Okay, you picture this. You're in 12-person league, you're drafting 11th. Let's say you go Jacobs, which I like Jacobs at the end of the 1st round. You come back around, you could go Gurley here, right? On the turn coming back. But if you don't go David Johnson here, you will lose David Johnson at the end of this 2nd round or the early 3rd. That's just the way that the mock drafts have been going now. So you got to make a decision. If you go Jacobs, would you want Gurley or David Johnson? That's the decision you got to make. Now, in many drafts about a month ago, before David Johnson's ADP was going up, in drafts, I can't believe he's still sitting 21st on the consensus rankings. David Johnson was actually coming off in the 4th round, which was crazy. Don't buy the hype, guys. This guy's primed for a big season. So I may very well go Jacobs. I may come back and go either Gurley or Johnson. I'm still debating. I love the ceiling of Todd Gurley this year. I just love him. I love both David Johnson or Gurley. So let's say I go David Johnson, come back around. I could end up with a guy like Jonathan Taylor coming back. He may not even fall. If he doesn't fall, you may want to consider wrapping up your robust RB strategy with, let's say, a David Montgomery and a Cam Akers. Okay, those are your 4 running backs. So you go Jacobs, Gurley, Jacobs, Gurley. You could go Montgomery and Cam Akers as your 4 if you're going late, first round. If you're going early, you go Saquon, come back. David Johnson may fall at the end of second, right? Remember, you're going first this time. Comes back around the 24th pick. Get yourself David Johnson. Then you can go Taylor. You go Taylor, come back around, and you could land Montgomery and Akers. So there's a little bit of a robust RB strategy for you guys in the first 4 rounds. Leonard Fournette, also good options there. You could go Kamara there in the first round. You could go Saquon, Zeke with that first pick. But always back yourself up, okay? Now, you could go Henry with your 4th pick and come back, and Jacobs could fall in the second round. Take them, okay? I talk about all of this in the 16-round draft solution, guys. You got to get it. It's going to give you a massive advantage. I'm telling you. So again, guys, that's the truth, guys. I'm going to wrap this up here. Don't listen to the mainstream consensus rankings. Think outside the box. Go for those workhorse running backs that are atop their depth chart that aren't going to be, dealing with a bunch of committee guys. Now, you can go for a late round couple guys, A.J. Dillon, Zach Moss for the Buffalo Bills. There's a couple other guys you get late. McFarland from the Steelers could emerge as well. There's a ton of deep running back sleepers here, but you got to be smart. You got to be smart and load up on those running backs early. And again, I just don't want to do a top 10 list because, again, I'm just going to get I kind of did one a couple weeks ago, whatever, but I did it, but it was done my way. It was non-consensus. I think David Johnson was top 5. Jacobs was in there, whereas Jacobs is sitting in 13th on the consensus. Listen, those lists won't help you, and draft kits won't help you. And that's why I created the 16-round draft, so you guys get it below or thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. That's it, guys. That's it for you guys. Just a quick, wasn't even quick, but it was a heart-to-heart running back discussion. Gave you a strategy for the first 4 rounds. A ton of content here for you guys. Be cautious, be aware, think outside the box. Now, Miles Sanders, again, looks amazing, for example, but he could be a part of a committee which is going to lower his value. Kenyan Drake looks amazing, but how do you trust that offense, right? They brought in, Benjamin. There's other options. Dalvin Cook looked great last year, but I think he blew his load, right? Nick Chubb looks amazing, looked great last year, but Kareem Hunt took half of the volume there in the 8 games they played together. You got to ask those questions. You got to think outside the box. You got to look at the entire scenario. Don't copy and paste, guys. I'm telling you, it's not going to help you guys win your leagues. Make sure you guys smash thumbs up, subscribe, leave your fantasy questions below. I'll see you guys in the next video. And, of course, follow on Twitch. Fan to Fan Network is coming. FTFN on Twitch. And follow on social at Fan to Fan Network. I'm out, guys. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And stay away from the sheep. For God's sake, stay away from the sheep. I'm out.